Since there are a lot of developers in the room, I figured I'd start with something kind of granular, which was what drove the initial decision to make this an application as opposed to a web-based service that you would look at through a browser?
So I think that there are generally a few use cases where an application makes sort of a better use. In our case, I think one of the things that we wanted to make sure was that we got swift playback. One of the things that we've sort of noticed is that the quicker we can deliver a search result or an actual track, the more consumptions we'll drive. And I think that's sort of generally true if you look at Facebook or any other sort of internet company as well. What we see is that people tend to spend a lot of time with Spotify just because it is so swift and it's so easy to use. And they tend to sort of replace their media player with Spotify because they don't really notice any difference between playing the file locally. A lot of people actually say to me that Spotify is quicker than playing local music through iTunes, which for me obviously is a sort of good testament.
So which devices do you think are the most promising? I mean, clearly right now there's the computer. I've used the mobile app, and it's available on television and cable. You know, there are many ways that this could be bundled, clearly, with a number of devices. Which do you see as the most promising one?
What I think is so interesting is that for the first time, if you're a developer today, there's endless of opportunities that you can make your software available for people. Only 3 years back, you didn't have the iPhone, you didn't have the Android platform. If you wanted to develop for mobile, for mobile at all, you pretty much had to support at least 4 or 5 major OSs. You had to customize your software for at least 50 to 60 different handset models. The lead time to actually get onto a phone in any sort of meaningful way was between 6 and 12 months. That shut out like all this innovation that we're seeing today on smartphone handsets. So I think that has enabled people to, like Spotify, but also a lot of the app developers out here, to get their software on phones, the iPhone, the Android, and so on. But we look quite a lot at bundling, obviously, with devices, mostly not so much for revenue possibilities, but more so sort of for pre-installs. And again, we believe that with the exception of the iPhone today, most of the other handset manufacturers lack a really good media player. And we're seeing that people tend to use Spotify as a media player on Android handsets, on Nokia handsets, and so on. Because it's been historically very cumbersome to sort of get your music onto a BlackBerry phone or a Nokia phone if you've had it in your iTunes library. And that's something we want to sort out.
So then let's talk about the business side of bundling then. If somebody's going to be paying to use this on the phone and they're already paying for a cell phone bill, I mean, this is something that music services have been kind of salivating over for years because people will be able to subscribe without making another credit card decision. You know, they just tick off something, and what's, $100 a month, $110 with music, seems like an easier decision. First of all, how has that been going in Europe, and is that how we might see it here?
Yeah, so we've been quite successful by doing it in Europe. We currently have 2 sort of major operators supporting us, but many more to come. So what we've been able to do, for instance, in my home country, Sweden, which is quite interesting, is pretty much if you go into any Telia store, Telia is the national carrier in Sweden, you can go in and you can pick up a smartphone, and it comes pre-installed with Spotify, and you get 3 to 6 months of free Spotify usage.
Really? And is that subsidized by Telia, or who takes care of that?
Yes, that's bundled together with Spotify, so it's Telia that subsidizes it for the customer. And what we've seen is that it's an incredible take-up for that. And Telia singled out Spotify as one of the 3 operational highlights of 2009, which really sort of shows that they believe in us, and we've expanded our partnerships to more territories now as well, and we're seeing early signs of success with 3 in the UK as well, with a similar kind of model, but they bundle it with handsets only, where Telia bundle it with computers, they bundle it with TV, when they're selling TV access. They want to bundle it into set-top boxes to drive HD TV usage, and digital boxes, the conversion from analog to digital. So I think we're only in the beginning of trying to figure it out, but what I think is interesting, and one of the key things that Spotify is pushing, is that people share more music than ever. They listen to more music than ever. They listen to a bigger diversity of artists, which also might mean that if you look at the traditional way of just buying music, that still works. You will still buy the music that you love, but for the vast majority of it, you just want access. And you want to share that music with your friends, and you want to consume it in the way that you want to, which is if you're a BlackBerry user, you want it to work on your BlackBerry. Why shouldn't you if you paid for it? So I think the key with Spotify is we want to enable your library on all these sort of devices. Whether it's a set-top box, whether it's an Xbox, whether it's a mobile phone, that doesn't really matter for us. We want to make music like water.
So this is interesting to me that you're saying this won't replace sales, because to me, I mean, there was a lot of talk at another conference about, I believe Edgar Bronfman Jr. was, saying that services like Spotify are, oh no, people aren't going to buy music, and to me that's exactly the point. So the idea of getting people to pay a monthly fee through, whether directly or through their cell phone or through a cable bill, that seems to be promising. And why would somebody buy something if?
No, I definitely think we're sort of going for that. But what I find, I can only take myself as an example, is that the music that I really love, I tend to want to buy it and own it still. I don't necessarily want to own it in the format that it used to be, like a dumb plastic disc. But what I want to do is I want to, get a special edition for the album or for the artist that I really like. I'm more than happy to pay $100 for a box set with, a T-shirt in it, with, a good set of notes to it, and that might be what I'm willing to pay for. Another person might be willing to pay for a live edition of that album with extended tracks. A third person might be willing to pay for the live concert experience. And I just think that the reality of the music industry today is the fact that there isn't one business model. And there isn't one business model that will sort of save the music industry. But it's about figuring out how to use downloads, how to use subscription, how to use merchandise, ticketing, and all these sort of things, and promotion of music. I mean, today, with all the noise that is out there, how are you as a sort of developing artist going to get heard? How are you going to get through onto your platform, and how are you going to make a sustainable living? That's the sort of big question that needs a lot of thought. And I won't say that Spotify is sort of the answer, but what I do want to say is we want to be a platform that artists can reach out to an audience. We want to monetize that either through downloads, through merchandise, through ticketing, or through subscription as well, or advertise.
So do you think that after sort of, I mean, I've been covering this for years, and the standard story is like, well, there's technology and there's music, and never the twain shall meet, or if they do, it's going to be ugly.
Yeah.
So is it your feeling that that's changing? Or are we getting to a point where these two things are getting aligned? How do you see that working right now?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I mean, if you look at the sort of technology savviness that exists in label today, they're developing more and more. I mean, I've been at labels where, more than the majority now of their sales are digital. So I think that they're definitely adapting to that reality. But I also think that we're seeing a lot of innovative people that just love music and that used to be in the digital space that now go in and sort of work for labels or work for artists and does a lot of innovative things and really wants to try and figure this space out. And we're all up for trying new things and seeing what sort of works as well, because this is a learning experience and we're making a lot of progress every day.